Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
There we go. Welcome, everybody. Episode 288, Better on Draft Podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it very, very much. If you're listening to the podcast, of course, go check out our YouTube page to watch the video of this show, youtube.com/Better on Draft. And if you're on our YouTube, go download our podcast, which is available on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, I don't know, iHeartRadio. I'm pretty sure Tinder has a podcast platform now that Facebook doesn't, so you can download us there. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go around, see what everybody is drinking. For myself, I've got a Bubble Farm IPA from Clown Shoes, as well as I'm going to be double fisting with a Mango American Kolsch. Rob, what do you have to drink today?
Well, I did have some Clown Shoes in front of me that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to open tonight because I was going to put it up to the panel to decide whether or not I was going to open the Billionaire or the Trillionaire. And both of those, of course, being from Clown Shoes. There's some relatively older bottles, but right now I am sipping on a Hoplark 0.0, really, really hoppy.
You know, we're doing our best here to promote the NA beers, not necessarily on purpose. I went 7 months without drinking. Hopefully you don't have to wait that long. But Wendy, what about you? What are you drinking?
I am double fisting tonight in honor of Nick, who hasn't joined us yet. I have the Mango American Kolsch from Clown Shoes, which seems to be pretty popular today from what I'm seeing. And the what is my new favorite, the Rainbows Are Real Hazy IPA. I'm pretty sure that's going to be my summer beer.
Nice. Awesome. Plenty of Clown Shoes. That means Clown Shoes is in studio with us today. Let's go around, introduce yourselves, tell us what you're drinking. We'll start with Dan. Dan, who are you and what do you do?
Hi there, Dan Lipke. I'm the head brewer for Clown Shoes, and I am brewing a beer that we just came out with. It was a collaboration with a skateboarder. It's called Mad Perf Sesh. It is a light, kind of easy drinking session IPA.
Are you a fan of skateboarding, or is this just a happenstance?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of skateboarding. I was never a good one myself, but lots of my friends growing up were. So
I did watch the Tony Hawk documentary, which of course ended in that tragic accident. And I did see on Facebook, I think today or yesterday, he dropped into a vert for the first time since that accident. So it is good to see he is happy and healthy. We also have Michael. Michael, what do you do and what are you drinking?
Hi, I am Michael Axt. I am the head of design for Clown Shoes, and I am drinking a Mango Kolsch.
And finally, Sean.
Hey guys, I'm Sean. I harass Michael and Dan as the brand director, and I'm on the Mango Party too, Mango Kolsch. It's 80 degrees, perfect day here in Boston, so enjoying this while it lasts.
All right. Well, I am going to start this question off for Dan, just because I know Dan as the brewer over there. The first thing I want to talk about is, having been acquired by Mass Bay just a handful of years ago. I kind of want to know, because this has always been really interesting to me. What are some of the big changes that you've seen within the product of Clown Shoes? And is there something you miss from being a gypsy brewer?
So we were acquired 5 years ago, and it's actually been fantastic. Being a gypsy brewer can be fun and interesting. You can get to work with, different facilities and such, but it's kind of harder to really have complete control over all the processes that are going on, especially if the brewery is maybe 2-3 hours away. So that always presented slight challenges. But in the past 5 years, working at the Mass Bay facility, we're now part of the team. I'm one of the brewers. I hang out in the brewer's office all day. I get to see the beers get made. I get to help make the beers. And the company is also made up of incredibly experienced brewers themselves. So there's a lot of collaboration going on. We have access to some of the best technology in our lab, as well as our packaging equipment. So really the quality control has really gone up big time in the last 5 years.
Now, technology is always great improvements, but something that's not necessarily technical is the artistic point of view, which is why you guys have Michael here, which very few companies have a head of design. What is a daily, your daily life at Mass Bay or Clown Shoes or wherever you work specifically?
Remember to unmute myself. The majority of my job is the actual drawing of the labels, the illustration part. I do handle all of the marketing materials as well, but if I had to guess, probably 75% of my job is actually drawing the silly things you guys see on the labels.
Now, before we kind of get further into Clown Shoes itself, is there anywhere else we might have seen your work, or maybe a quick plug for, because I noticed on your LinkedIn you're still a freelance artist, so I'm assuming people can still hire you should they want to get you. Maybe not necessarily for beer, but...
Yeah, no, not for beer. I've had requests, but I always turn them down because I am a full-time employee of Clown Shoes at Mass Bay. I do freelance on the side a little bit when I have time. Like recently, I've done some card decks for a company out of New Orleans. But other than that, pretty much just a beer. Clown Shoes beer is where you'll see me the most.
Well, obviously, you're doing such a great job that it probably makes Sean's job a lot easier.
I try to make it job harder as much as I can.
Well, he does say he bothers you a lot. But Sean, this is actually from Dan, from one of our previous hosts. Before we get into a little bit more of your guys' job, he wanted to know that several locations out in the Phoenix area have actually put pecan pie porter on tap, which doesn't appear in your production list right now. Is this a oversight, or are these some leftover kegs that need to get drank up? What's going on with the pecan pie porter?
So that would be leftover kegs we release that every fall, and that comes back around every fall. It's been one of our longest seasonals. I think it just celebrated 10 years last year, but it's a great American porter. It's 8% ABV, has that little pecan flavor in the background, but holds on really, really well. I mean, if you're looking at a freshness date on that, it ages for years. So what he's seeing on tap would be perfect to drink right now. I mean, I was just in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, and I know it's like 90 degrees in the sunshine out there. So a porter might not be your first choice, but it's a great beer.
If Dan was here, he would tell you that all beer is all season. Doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees outside, he will still be crushing those barrel-aged beers. He loves it out there because he can get those shelfies that nobody will buy because it's 110 degrees, and he'll go out and he'll buy those Goose Island Bourbon County brand stouts right off the shelf on discount.
I love that. A couple of beers we launched in the middle of the summer in the past, like the Corn Union Dragon, the 12.5% Russian Imperial Stout, we launched back in 2010 in August, not really the time of year you would think. That was great. And our first summer seasonal was an American barley wine, Uncle Sam, 9+% ABV barley wine that was dry hopped. It was fantastic beer for the summer.
Well, talking about beer and talking about summer beer, this is definitely a beer that I would love to drink in the summer, and this is the Bubble Farm IPA. Dan, talk to me about this beer. What is in this beer? What should I be tasting? And give me a little bit more information on the Above and Beyond series.
Yeah, so Bubble Farm in particular is it's kind of a beer that we designed for, an IPA that we designed for draft. It's meant to be easy drinking, has a little bit of wheat in it, but it's not really hazy. And that kind of, uses, that English strain that will, help promote, all those juicy flavors out of the hops. It's a blend of hops. I think we've got Mosaic and El Dorado and a couple others in there. So it's meant to be, kind of like a great go-to IPA, but also, fairly easy drinker. And yeah, that's one of the 4 beers in our Above and Beyond mix pack, which is new as of this year. It's kind of got 4 of our, great beers in there. It's Space Cake, which is almost like our flagship. That's a Mosaic forward double IPA. It's got Rainbows Are Real, which is our hazy IPA that we actually add terpenes to. and it's got mango kolsch in there as well as the bubble farm. And mango kolsch is a super easy drinking American kolsch style with a little bit of mango flavor.
All right. Well, before I pass it to Wendy, Nick, welcome to the show. What are you drinking?
All right. First and foremost, does this microphone work?
Yes.
Okay, good. I didn't mess with anything. Good. I am starting with the Clown Shoes Mango American Kolsch. And because we double fist on this show, the Space Cake Double IPA from Clown Shoes.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate, obviously, you hopping on when you can. I know getting Brody to sleep is always a task.
What also made it a challenge is that my house cleaner turned off this power strip to my router and my computer and my work laptop, everything. So I had to wait about 10, 15 minutes for it to reboot everything.
God, what a first world problem that is.
Yeah, I know. First world problems.
That was me. I did that.
It's only on a bi-weekly basis. Let me just make that clear. It's not weekly.
Wendy, what questions do you have?
In Nick's defense, it is summertime and he works for a utility company. And his wife just had a baby. So we're going to let him go on that one without giving him too much shit.
I appreciate that.
So let's talk a little bit about this mango kolsch, because I was reading back through the blogs on the website and I found a post about it. And I love that you had the audacity to put mango in a kolsch. We actually have a host, a past host of the show that would, he's probably losing his mind right now that we're all drinking it. But I'm just curious how that came about and if you got a lot of feedback on that was not positive, because it's very tasty.
Mango kolsch was a summer seasonal that we did. Was that maybe 2015, Sean?
Yeah, it started out around then in Bombers. Yep.
Yeah, and kind of, the whole idea behind Clown Shoes is to have fun and, not take things too seriously, but also make really good beer. So what we wanted to do with mango kolsch was make a super drinkable kolsch beer, but then add a twist. So a lot of our earlier beers were like, let's make a really good brown ale and then dry hop it, So something unexpected, a twist that most people would think would be fun. And mango kolsch was such a huge hit that first summer that we had a hard time keeping up with production. And that was actually one of the beers that we contracted at a different facility for a couple of years just to kind of keep up with production. And, it's kind of, it keeps on coming back. It's a fantastic summer beer in particular. It's got, mango flavor, but it's not, over the top. So it makes it, a real easy drinker.
We were always aware of the controversy it could cause. So one of Michael's original label ideas for it was a mob of German villagers with signs saying not Reinheitsgebot and, us being chased down and mangoes being thrown at us. So
it was not just an idea. It was a fully done label that Dan said, no, we cannot release that. It's too silly. It was a anthropomorphized mango riding a water buffalo being chased by angry Germans yelling, this beer's not Reinheitsgebot.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So I do want to talk a little bit about the Rainbows Are Real, because that is literally my new favorite since I got this beer. And it smells amazing when you pour it, and it really tastes good. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, it's hazy IPA. It's not too strong. It's at about 6-9%. So it's creeping up there. Pretty high percentage of wheat malt, bit of oat malt in it. And then we've got 3 great hops in a double dry hop. So it's Mosaic, Citra, and Azacca. And then we also hit it with a bit of terpenes. And terpenes are just aromatic oils that you find from botanical sources. Obviously, hops have them. And so the idea behind this was to kind of add a little something extra and different to the hop profile. Linalool is one that we added. That's it's kind of a flowery, almost lavender-like. And it's really subtle because these terpenes are super duper strong. So there's a small amount that kind of just adds a little something extra. and then a teeny bit of beta pinene, which, as you can imagine, is kind of piney. They're two terpenes that are super popular or super found in a lot of hops. So it's just kind of like something different that we wanted to do. I think it's pretty much still the only production beer in America that has kind of straight terpenes added to it. So it's kind of fun. It's different.
So it seems like you like different. What are some of the favorite combinations that you've done so far?
Boy, kind of early on, the first beer we ever did was Hoppy Feet, and that was a black IPA in 2000, right at the end of 2009. And there were a couple of black IPAs, but, this is way before, the hazy IPA thing took off. So having a locally produced black IPA was like a big deal. And we thought, that it was so over the top hoppy. It's kind of funny how things have progressed and how, palate shift. People are so used to so many hops now. But before that, we really didn't dry hop too many beers. So one of the fun things was Clown Shoes was that, for one, we were going for, kind of a higher price point. So we got to use, the best ingredients and kind of, throw in tons of hops. So just the ability to do that as a brewer at the time was super fun. And then lots of, so many great recipes. We've created hundreds of recipes. One of the early ones was Clementine, and that was a wit beer, Belgian wit beer that once again, we wanted to do our own take on it. But we had a couple different ideas, and we tried things like a Ras El Hanout, like a Moroccan spice blend, which didn't work. So sometimes it's kind of trial and error in the piloting phase of these recipes, but just a great ability to work on things and work on recipes. It's great fun.
So we've touched a little bit about the Mass Bay Brewing. And I'm just curious, what does being a part of that collaboration mean to the people who are buying your beer?
I think quality going up kind of first off. We were always making good beers, but the facility and the production staff and, the salespeople, everybody, we have access to kind of, the top notch in equipment and people. So quality control is probably the biggest thing. And then, Michael gets to work with their design team. So I know that he, we've all learned so much, by being part of the Mass Bay Brewing community, because they've been in the industry, for, I don't know, nearly 40 years at this point.
We went from being, 5 guys working together to having a team of 250 people that we can count on as employee owners. So really that learning aspect, learning about our jobs that we had been doing for, almost 10 years before that, kind of being thrown into a whole new system and relearning everything in a better way. I think it made a better product all the way through go to the customer.
That's awesome. And I know that there are going to be more questions about the employee ownership thing coming up. But before I pass it over, I just have one question, because I am big on traveling to destinations for beer. And I'm just curious what it's like to not have like a tap room that is set for you for when people go. Like, how do you bring people in to get your beer? How did you get your name out to get that beer being sold?
It's always tough to not have your own home. We're closer now than we've ever been. You can go to either one of the Harpoon breweries and get all the Clown Shoes retail, Clown Shoes stuff, but it's confusing at the same time because you're going to the Harpoon brewery to drink Clown Shoes. We have a lot of guests who come up and say, wow, I didn't even know you were brewed here. But originally there is a good part of it that it means that you don't have a geography. You don't have a geographic central location. So we can go out to Minnesota and people think we're from Minnesota. We can go down to Texas. People think we're from Texas. We can go to Sweden and people see us all the way over in Sweden. So it's nice to not have that geographic boundary to the brand. But we've always been looking, searching. We've been so close to opening a tap room maybe 3 or 4 times in the past 12, 13 years. So someday I hope it happens.
Technical difficulty.
Technical difficulty. At any rate, I believe she was passing over to Nick.
Okay. I don't know how many times the new microphones have been used on this show since we got them. Thank you, Ken, by the way. Much appreciated. As he gives the thumbs up. I'm going to go to Michael with this next question. Whenever I go looking for beer at the local store or, a bottle shop, whatever, for whatever reason, I always get drawn to the artwork of the label on the can or on the bottles. So you've had many years of experience at Clown Shoes making art and design for the cans and the bottles. I just cracked open the Space Cake can just now, and here it is again. For those watching on all the others, there's the bubble IPA right there. With the recent brand redesign, what was your personal goal to attract new craft beer fans and maybe try to reacquire older ones that maybe have written the Clown Shoes off? What were some of your personal goals for the rebrand and the design of the new cans and bottles that you guys put out?
The main thing was looking at it from like a 20-foot view. When I first started with Clown Shoes, the shelves were not as colorful, right? It was easier to stand out with an illustrated label because not many people were doing it then. Now a lot of people are, so it's harder to find us, especially with the way we used to look. The logo was tinier, the actual beer style, beer name was harder to find in a sea of colorful illustrations. So my goal was to find a balance between still having cool, interesting art and being able to be seen on a shelf full of amazing art. So the brand has to stand out. What the beer is has to stand out. The ABV, which is a big thing for us because a lot of our beers are higher ABV than, say, your average craft brew. And some people, might be buying it just for the higher ABV. So I had to check my ego a little and not have the art be front and center and have it be more of like a thing where once they found the beer, they could pick it up and then go, oh, okay, spin it, look at the whole thing. So once they find it, then they can look at it, is essentially that was my main goal.
So just a quick follow-up to that. When you're coming up with artwork for your cans for Clown Shoes beer, is there a lot of collaboration between you, the artist, and the brewers that as to what, kind of get their feedback a little bit as to what this kind of might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. With such a small team, it's like, we meet once a week. I wish there was like a more interesting path that I use to get to the illustrations, but I have to be honest, like I hear a beer name and I'm just like, and something pops in my head and I'm like, okay, so here's the idea. Yay or nay. Is this dumb? Is it good? And then maybe they have other ideas to like tweak it a little bit. But it's 100% collaborative.
I feel like you've been kind of taking it on a bit more recently, where kind of the direction and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah. With Greg leaving, absolutely.
Can we talk through a project that we have coming up just to kind of show what our conversations and how they evolve? Because we have a sour series that's coming up and launching in the fall, and we were discussing this, and we're talking about this. We have the recipe down, we have the ideas together, and Michael jumps in and shares his ideas. And Michael, can you talk us through that Victorian sour idea that you came up with?
Yeah, sure. I literally had the idea while you were telling me about sour. So usually these thoughts come up and I'm like, okay, just stop me if this is dumb, but here is what I'm thinking. So we have a sour coming out, and the idea is sour drinkers are very, they don't like drinking the same sour over and over. So we have to constantly change it up, right? So
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So we're going to do fruited sours, and every few months we're going to release a different fruit blend for the sour. And I was like, so thinking like, how can we do a series for this? It's going to be the same name, but it's going to have different fruit variations. And a lot of our labels, obviously, like I admit, I'm a bit of a nerd. And most of our labels are very sci-fi comic book themed. We haven't really done much in the fantasy realm. So I was thinking, okay, I love those old like Conan the Barbarian, Frank Frazetta images where it's the barbarian. He's like surrounded by enemies. His weapons are flailing and bodies are flying everywhere. I was like, well, what if we have a character who is being attacked by fruit monsters? And that's how we get the fruit for the beer, is that this barbarian is just tearing through these fruit monsters. So it'll be like fantasy graphic, but it's not blood. It's just fruit, so each label will be super colorful. You'll know exactly what fruit's in it because that's what's being torn up on the label. So that's the idea that I had immediately after they told me we were doing a fruit sour, and it just worked.
Is there an idea or a concept for art that you would love to try to implement on a beer that you really haven't found the opportunity to kind of do it because maybe it just didn't work with the beer, or maybe even the style? Or
honestly, the sour thing, I've been dying to do a fantasy oriented.
Okay.
Because as far as like nerddom goes, I'm much more of a fantasy nerd than say sci-fi or comics these days. So
okay.
I've been like chomping at the bit to do something like that.
All right. I'm gonna go ask one more question, then I believe I'm gonna pass this to Rob next. So I'm gonna bring Sean in. As we know, on the other side of the world, we got the thing in Ukraine right now. Did that get asked already, Ken? I don't think. Okay, just want to make sure. I didn't want to poach anybody's question. I apologize. So the donations to Razam of Ukraine for sales of a fistful of Unidragon is always great to see. We're starting to see a lot of nonprofits and even local businesses donate to the cause over in the other side of the world, over in Ukraine. Has Clown Shoes done any kind of charitable donations of sales like this in the past? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about previous causes that the brewery has supported in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have done a lot of different projects in the past. The one that jumps out to me the most right now, or forefront, we did a black ale project beer a couple of years back. That was a lot of fun. We were able to donate a lot to the the charity was Homes for Our Troops, and they're a local charity based in Massachusetts. They spread their work around the U.S. So we brewed a beer to that black ale project name. It was Double Chocolate Sonata. We nationally distributed it. I think we got a $5,000 donation out to them after that beer was released. We've done a lot of dollar per pints in our tap room every year in June for LGBTQ. Where we do, last year we did Rainbows Are Real. Previous years we've done different beers. So we're always looking for opportunities to donate, whether it be, one special beer that goes national or dollar per pint or anything like that. And we're talking with a national chain. We just met with them last week to do a project for a breast cancer collaboration coming up this fall that would have a charitable aspect to that as well. So we're always looking out for that. The one that we just did with a fistful of Unidragon that was very successful. We re-released a beer that was Texas only, a new format. So we knew it was going to have a lot of buzz behind it. We wanted to make sure we were donating $5 per case for that to Razam for the Ukraine, which we sold out of that case pretty quickly to wholesale. And our company, MBBC, had been doing a lot with Razam in the past. So we wanted to make sure we were giving back to something that was current as well.
We also did recently a pretty fun project called Circle of Heroes that was that we did with a local grocery store chain, and we've done 4 different versions of it, and each one kind of celebrates a frontline worker. So it's been a great cause too.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. That's a really cool project, and I was actually just up in Burlington, Vermont, meeting the hero who's on this incarnation's label right now. He's a manager at the store at the grocery chain, but also a wilderness first responder. And his charity was really cool. It's Friends of Tuckerman Ravine, which is a wilderness. Tuckerman Ravine is on Mount Washington, which is a high peak up in New England, up in New Hampshire. So a lot of the money going back to that, a charity he founded. So it's a lot of fun. And that's, the fourth project that we've done with Circle of Heroes, where we get to donate to someone's individual charity that they decide. So that's been a really cool, unique project that we've been doing.
All right. Very good. Mr. Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. I've been sitting here staring at these two bottles and realizing exactly how old these barley wines are, because this Billionaire was bottled on May 20th, 2015. The Trillionaire was bottled May 20th, 2016. So I should probably at some point, once it's okay to get to drink these, but I guess I am kind of curious, starting with Dan. Where are the barley wines anymore? I have not been seeing any of those show up on the schedule. Are they going to return?
Yeah, I mean, we'll actually be releasing Crunkle Sam in a barrel aged form. So it's our American barley wine. That's going to be our next, kind of barrel guild release. It'll be a 12-ounce 4-pack, and that's American barley wine. I think we're 10.5%, and we take it out of the barrels and then we dry hop it. So it kind of is pretty unique in that it will have kind of a fresh dry hop character. Not really quite to an IPA level, but certainly not something that you'd expect. But we've done tons of barrel projects over the years. It's been something that was, once again, we kind of started when not a lot of people were doing too many barrel projects. And we kind of had to learn on the fly, which was kind of fun. But it's trickier because the beer market has changed so much in the last 12 years, and really even the last 5 years, where I think before we used to have a lot more styles that were out there on the shelves, and really kind of the hazy IPA is really kind of taken over to such an extent that I always find a bit unfortunate that we can't try some of the other great styles of beer out there.
Right. And actually this Crunkle Sam, I'm picturing like a Little John just like wearing red, white, and blue, trying to get me to go into the army. I guess to you and to Sean, or whomever can answer it, how did Crunkle Sam get its name?
I honestly don't remember when we released that back. That was almost 10 years ago.
That was the very first label I did.
Was it?
Yeah. Wow. I don't remember where the name came from, but I know that we were, we were looking. As I said earlier, it was a summer seasonal, so we were looking to be like super patriotic, super over the top with it. And it was an American barley wine coming off the heels of an English barley wine. We wanted to make sure it was just screaming USA in your face. So I imagine that somewhere along those lines, that's where we came up with the Crunkle Sam guy. And he's come to life in a few more ways. I mean, he's on the mango can. He's biting into a mango that you guys see right now because it's a mango party today. But yeah, I'm super excited for the barrel aged version to come out next month. June, right? Yeah, June.
Yeah.
I think it's already May 13th. Look at that.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to be taking the barrels in next week and dry hopping it, and then it'll package end of May.
And Dan, you had mentioned the Barrel Guild program. I'm kind of curious what the program is. What are some of the upcoming offerings in the line, and just what's your personal approach to barrel finished beers?
Yeah, so we just did Fistful of Unidragon, I think a month or two ago. Crunkle Sam will be coming up next month. After that, we're bringing back one of our favorite beers, which is Snow in the Maple Tree. That's actually, I'm skipping 2 ahead. But Snow in the Maple Tree is one of my favorite. It's Imperial Stout aged in maple bourbon barrels, which is by far the best way to capture that maple essence. It can be such a hard flavor to retain in beer. Fantastic beer. And we're actually bringing back a Vietnamese style coffee stout, Once Upon a Time in the Far East. That will be our kind of fall release in the Barrel Guild. For the most part, this year we're choosing to use all bourbon barrels. Bourbon's a great kind of all around barrel aging, medium. We typically age our beers in the barrels for about 10 to 12 weeks. We find that we kind of pick up enough barrel character without it kind of getting a bit too funky. It seems to be kind of the sweet spot. And then next year we'll look at, kind of coming out with some new different barrels, and we're still working a bit on next year's schedule, but I think we're planning on, branching out and trying some different woods, which will be fun.
Nice. All right. And one that I had for Michael, I was kind of curious with his opinion on this one. I was going through the blog post of what I saw on Clown Shoe's website, and it was an article that was posted in March. It was about making beer without pretentiousness. And I was curious, in your opinion, what is pretentious about craft beer, and that's something that pretentiousness is being something that you wish no longer existed?
I think for me, I am not a fan of beer shaming people. If like somebody's like, I'm drinking this, and you're like, oh well, you don't like beer. You obviously don't like beer. It's like, I just like, if you like something, drink it. If you think it's fun, enjoy it. So my direction for beer labels is just whatever's fun, And I know a lot of people, I used to lurk on Beer Advocate a lot and check the forums, and a lot of people were like, they put so much effort into being so weird on their labels. Obviously the beer must be bad. I'm like, well, that's frustrating, because I know Dan does a good job on making the beer. So it's like, if it makes me sad that some people are too up their own ass to really give it a shot, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense.
Two things about that make complete sense. One, we call them Kanye's or Yeezuses because everything you just said, you could just put Kanye West in front of that, and you're basically describing him. Two, I want to, we're not leaving yet, but I want to leave you with this quote, which is the mantra of one of our local breweries, North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan. And they throw it on all of their swag. It says, if you like it, it's a good beer. And I think that's something that you were almost there with all the things you were saying. It doesn't matter. I was like, oh man, he might even say it without knowing it. But if you like it, it's a good beer. And I think when I learned that, because I was an asshole, I'll admit it. I was an asshole. Well, not to the brewers or anything, but to other people. Oh, you're drinking sex in a canoe, folks. That kind of bullshit. I don't care anymore. If you like it, if you enjoy it, that's what matters, because it's your money. You're spending it the way you want to. And if someone gives me a free beer and it's, Natty Daddy, it's probably Nick and he's having a bad day. So I'm going to drink the Natty Daddy and I'm going to be happy. So I
love that. That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
It is a great mantra, a great feeling, and it's very. It takes a weight off of your shoulders. It removes yourself from the toxicity, because then you don't participate in the toxicity that is craft beer. And I want to bring it up a little bit more. Smiles. It's nice. It's an interview. We're having fun. We're drinking beer. Sean, Kung Fu Ballet both spawned a beer and a comic strip. Now, we know that Dark Horse and Three Floyds have both released comic books. We going to see that anytime in the future? Maybe a comic book that goes with it, not just a strip?
I would love that. Michael, do you have time to really get that going? That would be on Michael's shoulders. And I mean, as you said, 75% of the time he's doing labels, and we have a lot of labels coming out. So it's tough to find the time, but I definitely think that it's something that's missing, to add to our story. And actually, we just launched a new feature today to some of our beers, augmented reality on the Space Cake label, which is pretty cool. And that gives you a new way to really express ourselves and tell our story further with the user. And I think that that's definitely something we could see in the future is a comic series that might not be a physical comic book, but it might appear before your eyes if you're holding your phone up to it just right.
I mean, I love that idea. I don't think I know any breweries that are doing AR right now, so that is definitely a new thing to me, that's for sure. How many SKUs are you guys putting out a year right now?
We've actually ratcheted back a little bit. We were doing a lot. We were doing almost too much up until 2019, and the pandemic really had us stop and think a bit about what we're putting out in the market, especially with so many breweries in every market that we're in right now. And it really, took us a step back to focus a little bit more on what we're doing on our core lineup and ratchet down the releases. So we're really trying to stick with, 3 or 4 year-round beers, and then once a month we'll have a special release, whether it be a Barrel Guild barrel-aged release or a 16-ounce special release. Whereas in the past, it used to be a barrel-aged release and a 16-ounce release in the same month, on top of some markets got unique exclusive beers in their market. So we were really flooding the market. We like to experiment. We like to get as much out there as possible. But again, the pandemic really taught us a few things, and that was focus on the best and try to get those out to the market, and then keep your variety in the variety packs, which is above and beyond, like we talked about earlier, or 12 beers of Christmas. Special release we do every holiday season, 12 different beers in there. So,
yeah, I was going to say we've got one package that's got 12 SKUs.
Well, let's bring it to you, Dan, before we kind of get into our final questions. As the brewer and selecting the beers that are getting made, do you find it a struggle to create these new beers all the time, including mix and match packs like your Above and Beyond series, which we're drinking a lot of the beers from, your 12 beers of Christmas? Like, how do you decide what beers go into those packaging?
Well, so we released this, it's called 12 Beers of Christmas. It's the third year running that we'll be releasing this. And it's a 12-pack with 12 different beers. And each year we change it up. And some of what, we've made so many beers over the years that, we tend to, we like to bring back like old favorites. So, and we get to branch out into lots of different styles. So, the comment that there's not a lot of barley wines anymore. I mean, we're going to have a Belgian quad. We're going to have a Bavarian IPA. We're going to have, so many different styles in there. It's super fun, especially for kind of craft drinkers that kind of miss some of the, variations in style. But I mean, I really love the creative aspect. Making beer and coming up with new flavor profiles and using new ingredients. It's great fun. The fruited sour project, really looking forward to that as well.
I'm going to have a suggestion because this is my show and I'm going to do it. But for your 12 beers of Christmas, I've noticed there is one style that you have not added into your 242 beers currently on Untapped. Where is an alt beer?
That's interesting. I've been in the industry for a long time, and when I kind of came into the industry in the 90s, alt beers were really big in New England. So Long Trail had one, Otter Creek had one, and I used to make them at the brew pub I was working at the time. You see a few places doing it. It's funny to me that the alt beer yeast I find doesn't play very well with the modern hop varieties. So I always, I haven't really figured out a flavor combination, other than kind of your classic German varieties. So some of the styles should really, it's hard to put your own twist on. Sometimes they just need to be kind of done, straight to style.
Well, what I'll do as a gift to you guys, we're actually going to have Alaskan on here in a few months, who's probably got the largest national alt beer production out there with their Alaskan Amber. It is an alt beer. It's not an amber. Don't get shocked, folks. So we will, maybe we'll see if we can get some secrets and tips out there for them. Folks, that is Clown Shoes episode 288. We're all going to ask our final question before we let you go to wind down. Something fun, relaxing, a way to finish your beer. We're going to start with Wendy. Wendy, what is your final question for these fine gentlemen?
What is the one beer that you guys have out right now that I need to tell people to go drink?
I would say Rainbows. Yeah. I think it's a really great beer. It hits a lot of the flavors that you kind of used to, but it also kind of gives something a bit, different and extra. And the artwork's cool.
It is.
Robert
goes to me, and my final questions aren't easy. So I saw this past February, Mass Live put Clown Shoes on a list of the top 6 breweries in Massachusetts, along with the best beers they brew. Now, obviously, you guys were on the list, so congratulations for being on the list. But they put on there that it was according to Beer Advocates rankings, and they put on that your best beer is the Imperial Stouts known as Breakfast Exorcism. I'm curious from you three, what do you think your best beer is that you brew?
Wow. It's my beers are kind of like my children, so I love them all, so it's kind of an unfair question to me.
There's always one child that listens.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on a new project that's going to be. We're looking at doing a Mexican lager and something that's like super crushable and easy drinking in the summer. And I still have a sweet spot in my heart for lagers, even though we don't do a ton. So I'm looking forward to that one. But a lot of our barrel aged projects are super delicious. The best beer I think that we make probably over the course of the year is probably Snow on the Maple Tree. I think that beer is really, really good.
Yeah, I have to say Snow on the Maple Tree too, in terms of getting the beer advocate crowd and getting those ratings. But if you're asking about my favorite beer is Reindeer Games, which comes back every year in our 12 Years of Christmas. It will come back every year because it's my favorite. But the Bavarian IPA that Dan talked about earlier, it's just a perfect blend of kind of old school and new school. I always look forward to that.
I have a double answer, especially since you asked the question, Rob. My favorite regularly made beer that we do is Undead Party Crasher, which is our American Imperial Stout. But my favorite beer, and it might be my favorite beer of all time, not just Clown Shoes, is the Ballad of Minnie Quay. Back when it was a Michigan-only release. Oh. It was an old ale aged in port barrels, and it was delicious.
There's one I miss.
The original version you're talking about too, right? The original.
Yeah, the original when it was Michigan-only.
Yeah, I like that one.
State-only releases.
Yeah, I remember making that one.
That'll have to come back sometime.
Yeah.
That would be... there would be a parade down my street if that came back. Nick, to you.
All right, so it's going to be in the mid 80s this weekend in Boston, particularly tomorrow. What is going to be your beer of choice this weekend that is not part of Mass Bay Brewing Company?
Pacifico.
Ken's is nodding his head in absolutely.
I mean, that's a great beer, but you were ready for that answer right away. I'm surprised it's just not in your hand right now.
We've been talking about it for 2 weeks in our last 2 meetings that we've had as a team. When we're talking about the Mexican lager project that Dan just mentioned, yeah, we've been talking about Pacifico a lot.
I do want to make sure it's on your radar. I know you guys are always in your for brewers, brewer reps, sales, etc. You kind of always focused on what you guys are doing, what you guys are selling. Shiner just launched Orale, which if you haven't had it yet, be on the lookout for it. It is easily one of the best Mexican lagers that has come out this year, as there are a lot of people launching them. But yeah, that is one I want you to keep an eye out for. I'm assuming you guys get Shiner out there. So yeah, but continue your answer. Sorry.
Well, Dan,
I'll be drinking probably the mild ale that I actually homebrewed, because it's always nice to have a lower ABV option available. And then when it gets really hot out, I might switch to rum and coconut water, because I haven't gotten away to a tropical vacation in too long.
And Michael?
I don't currently have any other beers in my house besides Clown Shoes. But if I could grab one, I'd probably go with a Heady Topper.
Oh, all right. There you go.
It is the internet, Michael. It's easy to lie. We're not asking you to take your camera to your fridge for viable proof.
When you work for a beer company, you get so much for your beer. It's like,
for sure. I do need to. I have all the kit for a English mild that I need to make, but we're actually the next episode of Better on Draft is going to have a brand new brand, a couple years old, but they're called Bella Snow, which is a 2.7% ABV line. IPAs, Scottish ales, fruited beers, like all 2.7%, all under 80 calories. So they're Northern California only. I'm not trying to plug another brewery while we're talking with you guys, but when, as Dan said, that low ABV English milds, there's plenty of great beers out there. So that's one to be on the lookout for sure. Plus, we're trying to plug the next episode, to get people to listen to the next one. My final question for you, very simple, very easy. I have a quote to read first, and it says, Jay and Silent Bob are terrible one-note jokes that only stoners laugh at. They're fucking clown shoes.
Yes.
We were informed that is the actual origin of the brand name Clown Shoes. So for the three of you, what is your favorite View Askewniverse movie? That's the Jay and Silent Bob movies, Dan. You looked very concerned when I said that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, I've been meaning to rewatch Clerks again. That's the only one that I really remember that well. So at the time when those came out, and we were much younger, they kind of really hit a chord. And the fact that we get our brand name from that movie, I think is kind of fantastic.
Now, I don't know if you're aware, but they did finish filming Clerks 3, so that's going to be coming out here soon.
I was going to say that's my favorite. It's Clerks 3 is going to be my favorite, but
we're going to have to get a Clown Shoes beer in their hands.
Hell yeah. It's the hardest thing to do, I think. I would say Clerks is probably the most memorable, like Dan said, but Jay and Silent Bob Straight Back, always, that one of the more recent ones. That was a lot of fun, but I'm looking forward to Clerks 3, especially, watching it unfold on Twitter all the time. So,
Michael.
I guess I'll have another double answer. What I think is the best one is probably Dogma.
Right there. Top 5 all time.
Calm down, Rob. It's okay.
But as far as what I've seen the most, and when I was in college, we watched it, me and my buddies watched it all the time, but Mallrats.
Well, I'll before we go, I'll put it to the rest of the group, and then we'll sign off. Rob, Dogma already. Nick, what's your favorite?
I'm going to go with the original Clerks.
Original Clerks. Wendy?
Mine was Mallrats.
Mallrats. For me, it's going to be weird, but I love Clerks too. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that movie. Just the play on everyone and how everyone does good. I love the addition of Rosario Dawson and Trevor Furman, who will be back in the newer one. And the ending, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this 16-year-old movie where they go and they reopen up the Quick Stop. So that's going to do it. Clown Shoes Beer. Guys, I didn't know, and this is my fault, but I know you guys have changed distribution a little bit. You guys are still available here in Michigan. Obviously, you're still available in Arizona. Total Wine carries them, of course, which means you can ask all of your beer stores. So your 8 Degrees, there's the Tuna Liquor, your Oat Soda. Hey, carry Clown Shoes. Bringing up the Above and Beyond Mix and Match 12-pack, which we had. And I actually, as not an IPA person, the Bubble Farm IPA, really, really solid. The Mango Kolsch, crime against humanity. I'm sorry. I'm with Matt here. Kolsch has got to be a Kolsch. It was still delicious.
Tasty,
I was going to say I drank it all, so it's not like it was bad. I just, when I want a Kolsch, I want a Kolsch. But Clown Shoes Beer, go find them. Go reintroduce yourself to this company, folks. The entire craft beer industry has exploded, and Clown Shoes is still there making amazing beer. with Michael, amazing graphics. If you're listening to the podcast, head on over to our YouTube page because, of course, you can see all of the Instagrams, including Michael's Instagram, so you can go see all of his artwork that he posts on his Instagram. That's going to do it. Better on Draft 288. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Noich, noich, noich. Peace.